All right. All right. Welcome. Welcome to Baker's Green Acres. I am Mark, your host, and this is Wednesday night live stream Q&A with Mark and Jill. I know we did a Q&A last night, and Q&A is always my fallback position if I don't really have anything to talk about, or I've been busy that day and didn't think of anything or prepare anything or come across anything, then we just fall back to a Q&A, and it seems to work out okay. We did cover quite a bit of information anyway, in spite of just having a Q&A. I think we did. Monday, it's just on the tip of my tongue. What do we talk about Monday? Jill?
It was an attitude one.
Yeah, it was an attitude adjustment.
I don't remember
Well, howdy, Haven. Howdy, Haven. Haven, come on, you remember, what did we talk about on Monday? I was just thinking about it. Well, anyway, a couple of things happened today. It's bugging me. This must be what it's like to run for president and you don't even know what state you're in. Anyway, I probably shouldn't make fun of that because that can happen. Do you remember? Does anybody remember? Well, it's kind of inconsequential. Optimism. Thank you, Haven. Hi, am I talking too loud? I'm talking too loud?
No,
Or what?
they can hear everything that's going on in the kitchen. It's just
Oh, you can hear what's going on in the kitchen. Okay, well, I'll do this. You wouldn't know that, would you? Like, you guys hear me okay? I get a 5x5. Fueled by optimism. Correct. All right. And I don't really know where that came from. I was just going to my thing, and yep. And every now and then you'll have this like review that comes into your head, like, why am I doing this again? That happened with me in the military. I at 4 years, 4 years, that's a long time. What do you mean? You want me to stay another 4 years? And wow, I really had to do some thinking about that. Voice is bad now. So how's that? I have two. One of them doesn't seem to work as good as the other one. Muffled. All right. Heck with the earbuds. Well, okay, let's see. Did this work? This is the left one. The left one, is this working? Well, now he says it was good. All right, well, I'm just going to go without. There's less noise in the kitchen right now. Works. Lone Star, how you doing? Respect. Robert Drake, respect. Lenny Racine, good. Respect. All right. So as I was saying, you have these times when, or I do anyway, where I say, why am I doing this? And then, oh yeah. And then, what's my agenda here? What am I trying to do? And whenever you can't come up with a quick answer and it's maybe nebulous or it's foggy, like I'm not sure I wanna, or I don't think I should, or maybe if I did this would be, and you're in that mode, you just say, okay, well, for today, I'm just gonna hone this baby. I'm gonna do the best I can, and I'll feel better about it, or I'll step back from it. I'll know why I'm doing it, and that was what came over me on Monday, and I was able to step way back and say, hey, that looks pretty good. Well, that looks pretty good over there. And I know that's good. That system is good. And then you think of the step that you had to go through to do the very last thing that you did, and you say, wow, I got a lot of work into that. What was I thinking when I said, I think I'm going to do this? And, that's where the whole notion of optimism came in. I can do it. I can do it. I know exactly where I got that from. I got it from my father. My father used to talk on, I'd have to work with him on Saturday during the day. I could go do other things after I got done working with him, but Friday night at dinner, he'd be telling me, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this and this and this. We're gonna be done with this by lunch," he would say, and he was so optimistic. And the thing, it was the joke around there. I mean, there was very few things we could make fun of my father for, but the one thing was he wanted to build a greenhouse, and he was telling me how we're going to do it, and he just says, we're going to be done with this by lunchtime. And me and my mother are kind of looking at each other like, okay, we'll see. It was like many months project, because it morphed into other things, right? But when it was done, it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. And he got a lot of enjoyment out of it, and that's really what it's about. It's about the process. So, we are definitely going to do Q&A tonight. I got Jill standing by on the laptop. She's agreed to do it, and she opined that, we say we're going to do question and answer on Wednesday, so we should. But I had told her that, well, we were talking at lunch, and I said, you ever think of this, this, and this? And it turned into a thought process that I thought this would be helpful to people. And it dovetails with optimism. And it kind of fit into a couple of things that happened to me today. And I'm not going to go into it too much, other than to say it's going to be titled, What Are Your Expectations? Right? And that might sound a little vanilla or bland, sorry. But as the day went on, the idea developed. And this is sort of doing this show. I know it's kind of morphed into a little like a sermon type thing. And that's why we got to come back to the Q&A, like when we need to, so we can talk about the nuts and bolts of farming and homesteading. But there is a mentality that goes with it, for sure. And some people do really well at it. Some people do a couple of years, great ideas, and then they just drop off. They drop it like a hot potato. And I think there's reasons for that, yeah, there's a lot of reasons. Tenacity is one of those things that some people, it's a gift that they have. And sometimes, like the next day, it seems like more work to quit than it is to just keep plugging along. And if you just stay with it long enough, all of a sudden you look back and you say, hey, I have something that's worth a damn here, and it's going to serve me the rest of my days. So anyway, that is the title of tomorrow night's discussion is going to be expectations. your expectations? What are your expectations? Something like that. It's kind of still developing in my mind. All right. And, you know, all of this stuff is sort of a holistic approach because it all dovetails with just about everything else. I don't think there's very much we talk about that you can't connect to something else, or maybe that's just me, but it just seems like everything connects together. And I got to tell you, I made a video and put it up on the tribe today. Wednesdays, twice a month, the kids have homeschool group, and that's where a bunch of homeschoolers converge at one location, and they get a chance to hang around with other kids and all that stuff. And it's a good thing. My kids really like going to it, and you know, it gives everybody a break in the action. Me too. And sometimes when everybody leaves here, I don't like it. I don't like it. It just feels, you know, I just don't like it. But then sometimes, all of a sudden, it's like, this is great, you know. And I don't get this feeling like, yeah, I wish they'd never come back. I just get this feeling like, I've got this much time. I am going to savor this time. I am going to have the time of my life here. And today was one of those days. I had a few more pieces to put on the garden shed, which has turned into kind of a longer project than I thought it would. Thought I'd be done by lunch. And I got those few pieces on, stepped back. I had bought some sealer for the trim, which I made out of pine. And I rolled some of that on, and I liked it. It smelled good. It looked good. I liked the way the building came out. I'm just real happy with it. I'm real happy with the separation between the mechanic shop and the wood shop or garden shop. I'm real happy with that. I moved some stuff up there from the mechanic shop that if I needed them, I'd have to go all the way down there and get them. And so I was feeling really good about it. The sun came out. It got warm. Light wind, 50 degrees, sunny. I'm by myself. Nobody's scheduled to come by. And just for fun, I said, you know what? I'm going to cut some wood. And I was able to access everything I needed right at my fingertips to get some of the nicest logs that I had, nicest long logs that I got off a mat, actually, and chain them up onto my front end loader, bring them over. Nice new blade on my chainsaw, started right up. Had the oil there. I had the wrench there. I tightened up my chain and stuff. Zipped right through those babies. Fired up the splitter on the first pull, right, and then I just went to splitting. And it's really nice. It's just really nice. It was warm, but not too. And when I made the video, I said, you know, if I could bottle a day, I would bottle this day. Let's say I could only bottle 10 days of my entire life. I would bottle that day. This day I would do it. And write the date on it and put it up on the shelf. And anytime I want, I can pull that one down and have that day. And when I started thinking along those lines, I said, you know what? I'm going to have something to eat. So I went over, I filled my canteen with water. I went down into this little field that we have down here that a whole bunch of daikon radishes have come up. I got a loaf of bread off the junk bread trailer that was in pretty good shape, in great shape. And I had a couple pieces of bread. I had some daikon radish and a canteen, you know, full of water that has that nice plasticky taste to it that if you've drank out of those things for 20 years, you kind of get used to. And I just had time of my life. It was so good. And that's when it hit me. What's going on here? Why is this good? Why is this good? And that's when it all came to me. And then shortly after that, a guy called me that I had ordered some wood. He's going to bring a semi-load of wood. We'd done it a couple times before, and we were out, so we wanted to get some coming. You get it green, and then you can cut it up easy with a saw because it's green, and you have to let it sit for a while, but like a year or 2 years even. Some of the wood I have out there is 3 years old, cut 3 years ago. But he called me back and he says, "Hey, look, if I'm going to get oak, I got to go clear up to Traverse City and get it and then come back down." He says, "I got some stuff here. I'd give it to you for the same price. It's cherry and maple, and it's all, pretty decent length, and it's, 10 pulp cords will be pretty heavy. I'll give it to you for the same price." I said, "Hey, fair enough." Turns out the guy that's driving the truck is the guy that owns the company, right? And I just told him, "Hey, I've gotten wood off you guys before, and it worked out really good." So, and he says, "Well, that's good to hear." He says, "Because I'm actually the guy that owns the company." I said, "Really? You own this company?" And I'm thinking, he's probably one of the sons, right? And so he made it clear, though. He made it clear. He says, "Nope. I started this company back in 1990, and it all started, my grandpa wanted me to cut some firewood for him." He said, "That's where it all began. Got my first pickup truck, and on it went." Now they have 85 employees. They're one of the biggest forest products companies in northern Michigan. Their name is Lutke, or Lucky, L-U-T. I want to give them a shout out. Because I'm going to include Lutke Forest Products, Manton, Michigan. If you need wood, you call those guys and tell them I sent you. But I'm not just giving him a plug because he did a nice job. He did a real nice job stacking the wood, and it's real good looking stuff. But I talked with him for about a half an hour after he got done. That's when I found out that, hey, he's the owner of it, and he was just taking up some slack for an older guy that works for him that had had his hip replaced. But I got to talking to him, and it's an American success story. Guy starts out with a pickup truck, and now he owns. He said, "I've got 15 rigs like that," and it was a single 10-wheeler, I guess you'd call it. So it's got a semi, but it's a straight truck. It's not a semi, but with a big grapple on the back that you can pick the wood up and move it like that. And he told me about how it went for him, and we talked about the election, and we talked about our farm. We talked about how we got started and things like that. And it was a really good conversation. Made me feel really good. And I realized after he left that it's a human interest story, and I think I'm going to call the newspaper and say, "You need to interview that guy, because this is what Americans need to hear." This guy started out with a pickup truck, and look at the company now, right? It's not all downhill. A lot of it was uphill. A lot of it was not good, I'm sure. He's had to do a lot of realigning. But 80 employees, and it's truly an American success story. And so all of that fits into expectations. And I'm going to leave it right there for now, because I know we've got a lot of questions to cover. But try to tune in tomorrow night, and I think we can even be a two-day discussion. And moreover, just real quick, the feeling of optimism that I have right now is almost euphoric, right? Because I feel like Lone Star. Does anyone know if there's any Joel Salatin books are in audio format? I don't know. I feel like something is coming, and I've been prompted subliminally, right, to prepare for it. And I guess in my mind, I'm always thinking, well, I'm preparing, I'm preparing. If I'm putting a backpack together to go camping, I'm preparing for a bear attack, worst case scenario. But maybe in the future coming, maybe it's not going to be worst case scenario. Maybe it's going to be best case scenario. And if you are prepared and you have an idea of a fruitful, helpful direction to go that's going to benefit mankind, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows the future? But I am continuing to be optimistic, and I I don't I don't think when I see somebody failing, even if they're really bad people that are failing, like what we're watching happen right now, that doesn't really make me feel good. It doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel like justice is being served, but it still would have been better if a crime family didn't have to go that route. If they'd have gone a better route, and we didn't have to see all this, the drug and all this other stuff that we're seeing now. It'd be better if we didn't see this. I would rather see a family that hasn't had to go that route. So that's not where my optimism comes from. My optimism comes from other sources, and I seek it out. So I'm just going to leave it right there. And I will take the first question. And Mary's in the house. Good to have you, Mary.
Lone Star wanted to know, do you split wood with an axe in each hand listening to AC/DC?
I used to. I don't do it that way anymore. Now I've done it so long and I'm so good at it. My swing is so true, right, that I can throw a log up with one hand and just split it in 4 ways. And it used to just fall on the ground, and then I'd have to stop and pick it up again. But now I hit it so true and so perfectly that it goes right over to the wood pile, and I'll just boop, right on the top of the wood pile. So you were close, but still far off. Any other questions?
Yeah, well, Cody wanted to know, what age should he start restricting food for breeding stock?
What age? I know what you're referring to. That comes out of university books, to where you would have all your sows, let's say, in a sow barn or a farrowing barn, and they're in a crate. A crate is a cage that they can only stand up and lay down on their belly, and sometimes they can lay on their side a little bit, but then sometimes they can't get up, and they pack them in real tight. It's pretty gross, and they're usually inseminating them right down the line. They do them all at the same time, and then at a certain number of days, they will change their diet and go to a diet that's appropriate to the stage of gestation that they're in. So before they start to lower their eggs into their birth canal, into their fallopian tubes, they'll give them a certain diet that will help create a lot of eggs, because they want to have the biggest litters possible. And some of those big sows are having minimum 14. If they don't make 14, they're out of there. But they're having more than that. And then a certain way into gestation, they'll give them a super high protein for the babies and then super high carbohydrates. So they're changing it all the way through. So they're definitely doing a fine tuning operation. And you can do that if you want. It's a lot of work. It's more work than I want to do, and I don't really want to be that scientific about it. Me, personally, I don't want to do it. So in lieu of that, I do I have 5 gilts or sows in a pen, and then I have a boar in there with them. And when I feed, it's kind of a free-for-all except for the babies. And in my world, if my sows get big, then they become sausage, and they're still returning to me. I'm still making a really good gain on them. So in I'll call it the commercial world or the factory farm world, they want to keep that sow at a good farrowing weight for as long as possible and get as many babies out of her as possible. That's not something that I'm concerned with because I can replace them all the time. I can always do that. Hey, Lone Star, thanks for that. Good connection. Yeah, I got a good connection tonight. Good connection. Keep it real, man. Keep it positive. So if you want to know the details on that, I can't help you because I don't do that. I keep it more the sounder method, to where that group, that little village, they live together and they're producing babies, and then I'm just taking the babies off when they're weaned. I'm just collecting them up, and then the boar is in there and he's inseminating them again, and they're having a good time, and it's like a nice little family unit. And then you see the loader that I built. All my baby pigs go into the loader. I shut the door. I got them. I can take them out very, very easily. It's turned into not a lot of work for me, where before, you get out there and you start chasing them around, and doesn't matter how old you are, it's a lot of work over a half an acre to catch baby pigs.
At what point do you separate your sows out from your future sows out from your feeders? Because you pick up all your little pigs, right? And they all go in a separate pen.
Yeah, and out of there I pick.
All the same.
I'm picking replacements. Well, I'm going to pick the replacements, the sow replacements, based on their phenotypical characteristics. And I mean, phenotypical is the way they look. So I'm being, what am I being by doing that? But that's how you do it. I mean, if you want a good pig, right? You pick one that looks good. It's almost like you can't do that anymore. Like if you're picking somebody to come work for you, and you happen to share, racist, right? You happen to share that, well, I picked her because she's got nice legs. Well, you can't say that. Well, I picked her because she's fat. Well, you can't say that either. You just can't say anything anymore. But when you're picking your sows, you're going to pick them based on if they're a good pig. How do you know they're a good pig? Interview them, I guess. No, you look at them. And if they look good, you pick them. But let's say, like I keep 5. Let's say I need one for some reason. I need a big pig that I have to butcher for some reason. Well, I'll take one of them, and then I'll put a replacement in. I'll pick another replacement. I can do that. So I'm always weighing out, what's gonna make the required gain for the day. So I am kicking around the idea actually of having. Ooh, I'm not supposed to say that. Well, I am. I'm kicking around the idea of having doing 4 classes on Baker's Green Acres next year. Next year. I don't think we'll do it this year. We've got 2 this year, and then I have 1 in Maine and 1 on Beaver Island. And we thought about doing another one, but I don't think that's going to happen. That was somebody wanted to hire us for a private class, but I don't think it's going to happen at this point. So if I needed one of the sows that I have, well, I'm not attached to her, but if I need a pig, I need a pig. So, she just might be the one that we need to do a class, and we'll replace her because I've got 2 others in there now that are also bred, and they're going to be coming up. That little one, he bred her. Did you know that? He did, yeah. Yeah, she is, isn't she? All right.
Okay. I think he answered that one. He has 2 gilts, roughly the same age. Do all gilts come in heat at the same time, or will it be mixed?
No, eventually they'll sync up, but they have to start doing it. So it's something else that starts the clock on their gestation. But once they're all gestating, they sync up. And I listened to a podcast the other day about the coronavirus, and the doc went into detail about how there is a link between human beings that we just don't understand. And he said that if you have a group of women living in a dormitory, if you have 20 of them, and they've done this, he quoted study after study where they'd have 20 of them, 20 females, human females, and 15 of them would sync up, but 5 would not. And it creates a lot of dynamics, as you can imagine, because I hear Rush Limbaugh years ago, he used to talk about a brigade of women and Army all together, and they would be a combat unit. And during certain times of the month, if they were all synced up, they'd be killers. They'd just be ravenous. It was pretty funny, but so sexist. Okay. And Jill's here too if you guys want to talk to her. She's got good things to talk about.
Cody's next question. Do you market your mangalitas at a higher price compared to regular dirt hogs? He's curious because it takes them 12 months to reach weight versus 6 months on a regular hog. So that equals more feed, right?
Yeah.
Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. And that is one of the things you're up against, when you've got, like we have a butcher shop up on the highway, L&J's Meats, and every year they do their hog sale, and they've been doing it for years, and they will sell whole hogs at 99 cents a pound. I don't know where they come from. I don't think they're local. I don't know. I really don't know, but they do move a lot of them. And so people see 99 cents a pound, and then when they ask us to hear all about our mangalites and all this neat stuff, and then we ask, I don't know what we ask, $4 a pound for them? Yes?
No.
Or $3.50?
$3.50.
$3.50 a pound, and people are like, oh, well, that's a lot. Not that they, they'll be driving a a $75,000 pickup and, you know, wearing sneakers that they paid $250 for, but $3.50 a pound for, you know, a cut of meat is too much. That's because in their mind, they're saying, well, I can get it up here for 99 cents. And so they think that we're pulling a fast one on them. You know, it can't be that good. And, you know, that's what you're up against, because if you're doing pastured poultry and you want to charge $3.50 a pound for it, but at Aldi's, they're selling it for 59 cents. And it's organic, you know, and it's a German name. It's got to be good if it's a German name, right? So that's what you're up against. And Cody, if you're, you know, if you're going to market your pigs, I think what you're going to want to do is use the same model that you use with pastured poultry, and that's explained in detail in Joel's book, Pastured Poultry Profits, where he explains marketing of pastured poultry. You know, at first you give a chicken to somebody, and then when they have it, it's so good that they'll say, oh, I got to have that. But if they have to cough up the dollars for it the first time, they might not. They might say, well, maybe I don't even want to know how that tastes if it's going to be that expensive. But once they do have it, it's sort of the same principle that in the 60s, drug pushers used. They would actually give you drugs and get you hooked on them, and then, you know, then you're hooked. And then once you've established one customer, they do the marketing for you. Because if you get a good deal someplace, and yeah, you paid a little bit more, but then you want to justify it to yourself, and you're talking to your friend, and you say, well, yeah, it's a little bit more, but it sure is good. And I feel so good about my health now that I'm eating good, and I feel like, you know, I'm not being irresponsible eating the garbage out of the store, and, you know, I'm going to have better later years because I'm eating correctly instead of incorrectly. So, and then you establish you've started the beginning of your own market, and every time you get another patron, you're widening your base, and you should know everybody that you're selling to. I mean, of course, you're not going to know everybody from the start, but you want to bring them back. It has to be important to you that they come back. They come back. I hope I explained that. You're not going to just put it in the newspaper. And, well, you might. I mean, that might be a good place to start a patronage with somebody. But I am not on board with the whole retail store and restaurant anymore, because you never know who your customers are. I mean, that restaurateur might buy it from you because people say to him, hey, this is pretty good pork, this is pretty good chicken. But it's better if the person that's eating it is actually saying, hey, that was good, I like the way you did that. And they're coming up your driveway instead of, you know, working with a restaurant or a retail store. Retail store was never going to know who produced it. So I would say keep your operation small, because you don't have a bunch of pigs yet anyway, and your operation can grow alongside of your customer base. I know you got a bunch of them, so keep it short.
Actually.
Oh,
Nope.
okay, we need more questions, and we need
That was
thumbs
Cody's last
up.
question.
We need thumbs ups. Thumbs up. We just butchered. All right, Pierce, Jonathan Pierce. I think they were having a problem with that pig. Seemed like she wasn't real affectionate to that pig by the time it went off to. The hide, you got the hide. What are you going to do with that? I think you should probably make a little, some seat covers. Or a pillow. A pillowcase out of a Mangalitsa hide. Boy, when that turn, that would be the center of attention if you had friends over and, oh, go ahead, make like a rug out of a Mangalitsa pig. That would be funny. That really would be funny. The head and everything, real tusks on it. I could see your little kid just sitting on there, rocking the head. Did you have questions from next week that you could throw at me? Or from weeks ago? Jill records them. Before I forget this, Cody, never set your prices according to what somebody says they will pay, right? If somebody says, well, I can get it at Aldi's for 29 cents a pound, and you say, oh, well, okay, I'll sell it to you for 29 cents. Yeah, they'll be back. You don't want them. So if you have people that you're selling to and for some reason you don't want to sell to them anymore, you don't like them, you get a bad feeling, then you kick them out. You need to be fairly exclusive with your products. And if people are going to complain, like reluctantly take it, well, it's too much, you just say, oh, then that's all right. That's all right. No, you go to Aldi's and get your stuff. Because if they take it, and let's say they get a tough pork chop, and they'll say, yeah, we paid too much for this, and this is tough. Anyway, yeah, it tastes good, but it's tough. And look at this. Look at how much fat there is on this, especially when you're doing Mangalitsa, and you're dealing with people that hear, oh, Mangalitsa, it's the greatest thing. Well, it is, but you have to know what you're doing with it. And if you just just throw a pork chop in a pan that's got a lot of fat on it and cook it, it does seem a little like I paid for all this fat. At first, you can't really eat it like you can after you get used to it, and then you start eating the fat first. So find the people that value your product, and go with them. And people who don't value it, stay away from them. Just ignore them. I read this thing on the internet the other day, and it caught my attention. But a guy gave his daughter a car when she graduated. She had done a good job, and he gave it to her. Maybe some people have probably read this. And it had a picture of this car, and I recognized the car, but there was no insignia on it. And the father said, here, you can drive this car if you want, or you can sell it, whatever you want. He says, but I recommend that you take it down to the auto auction and see what they'll give you for it. So she takes it down there, and they said, well, we'll give you $1,000 for it. It's a pretty nice car. And then he says, well, I recommend that you take it down to a used car lot and see what they give to you in trade. And so she takes it down there. They said, well, we give you $500 trade-in value on it. She said, well, okay. And she brings it home, and he says, take it down to this this car club, down here, wherever. And so she takes it down there, and their eyes get like this big. And they said, this is a very rare car, and we will give you $15,000 for it right now. So you can see that your product is not going to have equal value to everybody. Some people will see it as, whoa, this is good, I got to have this. Like raw milk, for instance. My neighbors wouldn't drink raw milk from us. I mean, they milk their own cows, but I don't really even think they drink their own milk. But we have people drive from Traverse City 90 miles down here to get a couple gallons of raw milk and take it back. They value it. So the people that value what you're doing, Those are the ones you want to sell to. Do not devalue your product to meet the expectations of a potential customer. Like you wouldn't say to them, if they say to you, well, I want to buy some, I'd like to buy a half a pig. And then you say to them, okay, what would you give me for it? You don't do that. You say, well, this is the price. And you're the one that's got to know how much you got in that pig and how much profit you want to make. Don't do this thing. I've heard people do this. Well, I just want to build a customer base, so I'll just sell it at no profit or little profit. Don't be a fool, because then you're going to have people coming back saying, well, last time you sold me a pig, you didn't make any money on it, so why can't I have it this time? Don't do that. Set the price at a place that you need to cover all of your expenses and then a profit. Why shouldn't a farmer profit? You know why farmers think they shouldn't profit? Is because they go to the store and they think, well, I must not be doing it right because I sure as heck can't produce a dozen of eggs for $1. Yeah, and you can't. You can't. There's no way you can do that. How do they do it? Well, that's a good question. I'm not going to go into it now, but it's not dropping out of the, well, it is kind of dropping out of the sky. It's subsidies is what it is. And it's sick. It's just sickening. All right, I'm ready for another.
Yeah, Jonathan, as a follow-up, do you lower your prices to get rid of pigs?
I have, and Jonathan, this is where you have to back away from this and pull it all apart and look at it. All right, so let's say that I farrowed a bunch of pigs, or I farrowed a few pigs, and I'm approaching this scenario right now. I've got 27 little baby pigs on the ground, and they're starting to eat. Right, just so happens I have a junk bread contract, and so I'm just able to feed more to them. But let's say that you're buying feed, and all of a sudden you're starting to accumulate some bills on feed. I mean, some real, and it gets to be this time of the year and say, hey, I got pigs for sale. But people are saying, yeah, well, I don't really want them because I don't like to water pigs in the wintertime. And that's, people say that. I've heard that so many times, it sickens me to hear that, especially people that are aspiring homesteaders. Oh, you don't want to water your pigs in the wintertime. Oh, what a stud. But in my case, I ran into that. I ran into that a lot. And then the pigs start losing value because they're costing me money. Right? They're losing value because they're costing me money. So I want to move them. I want to sell them to somebody else so that I don't have to start accumulating bills on feed. So one of the tricks on that is to have a database of people that want pigs. And so you can start marketing the pigs. You can start making the phone calls to them. Another thing that you can do, I'm going to beat that dog. Another thing that you can do, that I'm able to do, is I'm able to just feed them because I've got, I'm a good scrounger and I'm always looking for more scrounge. So I usually have more feed here than I need. And so I'm not taking a bath from the feed, I'm not getting beat up on that because you can. And you're hoping someday that you're going to sell these pigs at a profit. But as soon as you lower the price on them just to get rid of them, failure, right? A better way, let's say that you have pigs that are full size. I know you guys were having problems finding homes for them. If you have a slaughtering operation that you can take them to and get them turned into products, and then start moving the products. right? And you don't have to move them all at the same time. When they're in the freezer, you're not feeding them, right? But you do have to lay out some money to get them done. So it's nice, Jonathan, you're home on the weekends, do a pig. You do your own pig, you know, you butcher it yourself, grind it up, make something out of it, you know, do the cuts you can do well and get that packaged up, the stuff that you're not so good at, make it into sausage or just ground. And then you can put that on the shelf in a freezer and it's stable. And then you can start to build that customer base too. So we sell live hogs, we sell cuts, we sell whole hogs, we sell half hogs, we do it all. And then, you know, people are gonna say, well, don't you have to sell a whole hog? Or a whole hog or half a hog? Isn't there some law out there? I've heard that. It's like saying, well, you can sell whole puppies or you can sell half puppies, but you can't sell a puppy's leg. But for some reason, if you're gonna sell a pig, you know, has to be whole, half, or quarter. None of that. Your right to sell to your neighbor is protected constitutionally, and you know, you just don't give in on that one. This is I am gonna get into that tomorrow night too. Is whether you know it or not, you're living in a country that you have more freedom than any other place in the world. And yeah, we get a little bit flustered about some agency telling me that I can do this or I can do that. Damn right we get flustered. And that's why we have the freedoms that we do. So you really have a responsibility to take up the tomahawk and scalp a few just to keep them at bay. I'm ready for another one.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Cody's question first.
Okay.
He was told that he shouldn't breed a gilt first cycle because it could cause the piglets to be big because they're not many and can kill the gilt. Is that something to worry about? Have you seen that? He likes your philosophy on small litter. I think that's what he's saying.
No, I've never heard that one. I've never heard that one.
Oh.
Have you?
With other things, that's one reason you want to breed them bigger. One reason.
You want them to be older?
Yeah, and bigger. You want them to be
So
like
if they're
full size.
smaller, they'll have bigger babies and they won't fit out or something like that?
Yeah.
Have
Their
we?
birth canal could be underdeveloped yet.
The only thing
But
close,
we've never had that.
we've never had that. The only thing close to that we've had, and I almost documented this. I almost got it documented. Was when Frank was little, and I wanted to document a farrowing, and so we had a sow that went into labor, and so we went out and we started watching her, and we knew her really well, so she didn't mind. And I sensed early on something was wrong. And we stayed out there, we went back, just nothing. And then in the evening, she started to go into labor, and it went and went and went. The next morning, she was still in labor, and I thought, this isn't good. She was losing strength, and I thought, something's wrong here. She finally pushed out this thing that looked like a cocoon. It was big. It was like this big around, and it was one piglet. It was dead, and it had been dead, and she just pushed it out. And as soon as it was out, she started coming back, and that was it. That's all that she had, and we haven't had anything like that happen before or since. and she was not a first-time sow. So I don't think that's even consistent with what your friend is saying. I've never heard of that, but I haven't seen it all. You know, and I haven't heard that philosophy either. So, I, people say stuff. People say stuff, especially about pigs. People have, I call it urban legend, stuff that people say, just things that people say, and you can almost feel it coming, right? I started noticing it when I first went in the military. I was around a bigger group of people, and it was in tech school, I'd be in different classrooms with different groups of people, and you'd hear the same stories, from different people. It happened back home, of course. And there was just stories like, there was a guy told, and I heard one of my sisters tell this story, that two people were traveling down the highway, and there was they were on a motorcycle, and there was somebody put a cable across the highway, and it cut their heads off. And then I heard this story about somebody's riding a snowmobile on the ice, and they went through the ice, and their neck hit the ice on the other side, and their head rolled 100 yards. Let's see, what else did I hear? But stories like that, just legend stories. It sounds good, that, but there's no truth to it. And then just stuff people would say, like, guys sit around and they're talking about guns. Guys like to talk about guns, especially a bunch of young guys that have gone into the military. Some of them, back home I got a .458 Winchester Magnum. Back home, there's lots of stuff back home. I even had stuff back home. But guys would say, they'd be talking about deer hunting, and then the whole concept of a 30-30 lever action rifle would come up, and somebody'd say, yeah, that rifle has taken more deer in North America than any other rifle. People, yeah. And then somebody is inevitably, somebody's going to say, yeah, it's a good brush gun. It's a good brush gun. And I've even baited people into that, throughout my military career, you get in similar conversations, and I'd say, well, I kind of prefer the 30-30 Winchester lever action rifle. And no doubt somebody in the room would say, it's a good brush gun. Yep. You just know it's coming. And with pigs, I've had 10 people here that say, I've heard they're the cleanest animals around. Pigs, yeah. They root through each other's manure to look for something, or they pee in each other's faces. Maybe that they don't poop all the time where they lay down. Not all the time. Sometimes, but not all the time. That makes them very clean animals. Where like a cow, she'll poop, lay right down in it. She doesn't even know she's pooping though. She doesn't even acknowledge it. So people say stuff. There's a lot of farm legend out there. Matter of fact, we should make a farm legend directory and track some of the legends that are out there. If anybody has any good legends, I'd like to see them, come in, and we'll take note of them, and we'll as the group goes. There's a lot of legends actually been thrown at us since we've been doing this. But I'm ready for the next question here.
Are Mangalitsa sows good about co-nursing each other's litters?
Oh yeah. I can tell you some legend on that. Somebody that I know pretty well told me that baby pigs will go to the same station on the mother, or the same tit. They'll go to the same one every time. And I thought, oh, that's, and that's before I started farrowing pigs. But now, one mother flops over and pigs are racing from one mother to another. You know, it seems like they sync up. The moms, I got 3 sows out there now, and they all went within a few days of each other. One flops over and starts grunting, the other one flops over. And the babies, you know, wherever there's an open fountain, they're on it. So yeah, they do co-nurse. They do co-nurse. And there's never seems to be a problem that I've ever seen with that. The only problem that you will have with co-nursing is if you have a sow that drops, and then let's say her babies are running around in a common area, and then you have another sow that drops, say, a month later. Her babies come out, they're kind of weak, and that mom's laying over on her side, so the other month-old babies will be right there getting all the colostrum. And I've had that happen before, and yeah, you got to prevent that from happening. You have to have a way to close off your hut or close off an area, because they're tenacious. Those little guys are really tenacious. Next.
Okay.
Got some
This is
legend?
the last one I have, but this is a Lone Star question.
This is legend coming up, I know.
Is it possible for you to help the U.S. Fish and Wildlife keep my herd of pigs out of the easement? They are responsible for the fencing, right? They probably need some consulting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to talk with them about that. We'll have to bring them up to speed on how things are done. It just gave me a great idea, but it's devious. So I'll have to share that in person.
Jonathan said our last litter this year was weak because of other greedy piglets.
Yeah. Yeah, the porta hut is a really nice way to go, because if that happens, you can have a door that you can put over the front of it, and the pigs on the inside, they don't want to get out for a week. And the pigs on the outside, if there's no way in, they just, she's safe. And you can also, you don't have to have a full door. So the porta hut, what I do is I put a 2x10 on the front of it, and it keeps the baby pigs from wandering out. And then you can put another 2x10 on top of that. Mom can still get over it, but the pigs on the outside, the month-old ones, can't get in. And that only goes on while she's in her trance. Once she comes around and she's able to protect her nest, she won't let the other ones nurse off her. She won't let that happen. So, okay, we're at 63 minutes. If we don't have any additional questions for tonight, we can call it a night, and then we'll pick it up tomorrow night, Thursday. Action-packed, good time, and in the meantime, stay salty, and I will catch you on the other side. Good night.